So we're going to talk today about 4 tips to streamline cybersecurity for companies. We're going to use the 4 to do that through disruptive technologies, right? But first, I'd like to talk about disruption, because disruption is a word that creates feelings, right? It scares people. When we hear disruption, immediately we think, oh my God, what's going to happen? What are we going to disrupt? What's the change that this is going to create? And the fact is, we all have faced disruption, and we all have embraced it in our daily lives, right? Here are 3 examples of disruption that we all have faced in our daily lives. The first one is the paper map. Who of you has a paper map in the car today? No one, right? 25 years ago, everyone had a paper map in their car today. We use now GPS-driven applications. We once stopped on a Blockbuster to rent a movie. Who does that today? There's no Blockbuster to start with, right? For the price of renting a movie, we get all we can watch shows for a month. Who's going to call a taxi out from this event today to go back to your houses? No one, right? We're all going to get Uber. So we embrace the disruption in our lives. And disruption is something that is getting to cybersecurity. And I'm going to tell you why disruption is getting to cybersecurity. So we're going to back focus into cyber. The problem is the cyber attacks are growing at an unlimited rate that is affecting companies of all sizes and all industries. And that creates the need for more companies to do cybersecurity proficiently, to be good at that. If those companies aren't, they're going to be impacted. And the problem is that the cost to do that today is inefficient, to the point that a 300 users company today, when they analyze how much they had to spend to implement cybersecurity effectively, they would probably end up giving up to the task. They will probably, you say, I deal with that if it ever happens. But the reality is that it's happening more often than before. So they all are going to be forced to do. So the first issue is the cost. The cost of doing cybersecurity effectively has to go down. How that happens? It will happen when technologies can be implemented in a more massive market. The recipe to deploy effective cybersecurity today for most of the companies is overwhelming. All the data that they get into their systems produce an enormous amount of alerts. They quickly realize that to handle that amount of alerts, they require an army of people that they are not willing or able to spend to start with. So that also has to change. That's the reality of the current model. The licensing model of cybersecurity today creates a pervasive behavior that enables our cybersecurity operations to create blind spots. Most of the technologies today that implement cybersecurity operations are priced on per EPS basis, events per second. So what do? To optimize the cost of our cybersecurity operations, the end result is a behavior in which we eliminate or we optimize the number of events that we send to those technologies. What's the end result? We create blind spots. And then no wonder why we all ask how the adversary got in the network. We didn't see it. We created blind spots by optimizing the data that we send in the tools. Why? Because that's the pricing model that exists today in the industry. The time to remediate an incident takes way too much time. A security analyst typically spends 2 hours assessing an incident before they can go and take actions into that incident. In a world where attacks evolve by the seconds, if not milliseconds. And because of all that, we create lack of visibility within the environments that we are operating and protecting today. Now, let me give you the 4 tips to embrace disruption and to streamline cybersecurity operation. The first one is embrace the innovation, right? Embrace the disruption. The truth is that the only one that are going to be benefit from the disruption are the customers. In every disruption, they're winners and losers, right? In the blockbuster Netflix, Blockbuster clearly was the loser. They defended that model to the end until they're no longer in business. In this disruption that is happening in cybersecurity, and particularly in cybersecurity operations, the winners are going to be the customers. The losers are going to be on the provider side. We all on the vendor side have to define how we're going to serve this disruption, if we're going to defend the disruption to the end and die in that process, or if we're going to embrace it and provide more value to the customers. Use the network as your ultimate source of truth. Every attack has to use the network. Everyone. Every one of those attacks have to utilize the network. That's the only way that the adversary can cause harm. So use the network, but don't use the network as a silo platform. Use the network as the core to enable proficient cybersecurity operation in your organizations. Enable AI and ML intentionally. As Kevin was here before, who was mentioning how AI is going to transform, Kevin Mandia I'm referring to, how AI and ML is going to transform cybersecurity in general. We truly believe on that, but one thing that we also have to do is to be intentional about the use of AI and ML. Why? If a vendor is unable to explain how they use AI to you, they probably may not be using it, right? This may be only a buzzword because we know that the market likes to hear those terms. So the vendors have to be able to articulate effectively how they use AI in their tools. And you have to be able to see it in the POCs, in the demos that you deploy. And then be smart about automation. Automation is going to be critical about how we're going to be able to increase the cyber resistance to the attacks that we are facing. And what I mean by be smart, often in my line of business, I see customers trying to automate the most complex use cases that they can do. And that drives them to buy very expensive tools that they don't know how to use it. And that expensive tools ends up automating very simple use cases. Be smart about how to automate. Start automating the repetitive tasks that are eating up the time of your security analysts. And then very quickly, you're going to be able to automate a lot of use cases. And sooner, you're going to have a lot of automation built in your platform. Be smart about automation. I want to highlight 3 customers embracing the disruption here in the U.S. The first one is Ocean Bank, largest financial institution in the southeast of the United States. They deployed Lumu about 2 years ago. Very quickly, they started facing the value that Lumu provides within their cybersecurity operation and start adopting Lumu for more use cases and consolidate some of the dated tools that they used to have. Ophthalmic Consultants of Boston, a medical practice with over 300 locations in the U.S., also replaced their dated cybersecurity operations with Lumu. And right here in Florida, Alachua County, the home of UF, they deployed Lumu also to validate the value that we could provide to them and how we were able to simplify their cybersecurity operations. The common denominator about all these companies is that the tool was able to bring the conviction to them that they were able to do proficient cybersecurity operation as the best security operations centers in the world. That is the type of disruption that's happening in cybersecurity. 2 call to actions that I want you to take out from this speech. There is easy to start with Lumu. Open a free account or contact the Digital Era team. Very simple. And lastly, and the thing that excites me the more about the story that we're building here is that this innovation is coming from right here, 305 Miami, guys. Right here, 305 Miami. That's where this innovation is coming from. And we are not stopping until all companies can operate cybersecurity proficiently. Thank you all for having me today.